Let's imagine for a moment that your body is like a very sophisticated machine, constantly ticking away, adjusting, and keeping you alive. It might sound mechanical, but the reality is much more complex and beautiful than that. Inside you, there's a process, a rhythm that governs a lot of what happens throughout your day. This rhythm is called your circadian rhythm, and it's like an internal clock, regulating when you feel awake and when you feel sleepy. Now, your circadian rhythm isn't just some abstract concept. It's a 24-hour cycle that is deeply tied to the Earth's rotation, mainly influenced by the presence or absence of light. Think of it like an ancient biological timer, fine-tuned by millions of years of evolution. The sun rises, and your body says, "Time to wake up." The sun sets, and your body says, "All right, time to start winding down." It's that simple. And this is where things get interesting. Your circadian rhythm is not the only clock at play here. In fact, it's only part of a bigger system that affects pretty much every system in your body. This clock, the circadian rhythm, is controlled by a tiny region in your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, SCN, located in the hypothalamus. The FCN is like the head of an orchestra, coordinating signals to your body and keeping everything in sync. It tells your brain when to release hormones, like cortisol in the morning to wake you up, and melatonin at night to help you fall asleep. These chemicals are part of your body's natural process of regulating sleep and wake cycles, adjusting your mood, energy, and even your body temperature. As the day progresses, you begin to notice subtle shifts. Around 9 or 10 p.m., when you're starting to feel the pull of the evening, your body is undergoing a series of changes that are preparing you for sleep. Your core body temperature starts to drop, which signals to your body that it's time to slow down. Your heart rate steadies, your muscles relax, and the levels of melatonin start to rise. Melatonin is the hormone responsible for making you feel sleepy, but it doesn't just make you tired. It also helps synchronize your sleep-wake cycle to the environmental cues around you, like darkness and light. The interesting thing about melatonin is that its production is heavily tied to light exposure, which is why you might struggle to fall asleep if you're staring at your phone or computer screen before bed. When you stay awake beyond the usual 10 p.m. marker, however, this natural rhythm starts to get disrupted. Your body still wants to go into its sleep mode, but you're pushing against its natural flow. This creates a sense of tension inside you. Your brain continues to release melatonin, but because you're awake, that melatonin doesn't have the intended effect. It's like trying to play a song in the wrong key. You may feel sleepy, but your mind is still alert, like your body hasn't fully received the message that it's time to rest. In those late-night hours, there's also something else happening. The buildup of a chemical called adenosine. Adenosine accumulates in your brain the longer you're awake. It's like the body's internal sleepy signal. Imagine it as a weight that slowly builds up, making your eyelids heavier as it goes on. Adenosine makes it harder for you to stay alert, and by 10 p.m., if you've been up all day, that weight starts to become hard to ignore. But here's where it gets interesting. The more you push against your body's circadian rhythm, whether by staying awake later than usual or exposing yourself to artificial light late at night, the more you mess with this finely tuned system. And while you may not feel the immediate consequences of one late night, over time, this disruption can lead to bigger issues. It's like missing the beat in a song repeatedly. Eventually, things start to sound out of sync, and your body might start to feel the effects. What happens when you mess with this rhythm over days or weeks? Well, we're still figuring that part out, but we do know that it can have long-term impacts on health, including mood swings, poorer cognitive performance, and even greater risks for chronic conditions. So, if you're still awake at 10 p.m., it's not just that your body is fighting to stay alert, it's that your internal rhythms are starting to unravel a little bit. It's not the end of the world, but it is a sign that your body is trying to tell you something. And the real mystery is that, even though we understand the basic mechanics of what's going on, we still don't fully know why we need this rhythm, or why messing with it can have such a profound impact. As the evening wears on, and you push past your natural bedtime, something deeper begins to happen inside your brain. It's not just about feeling tired or needing rest. There's a whole cascade of processes that start to unfold, subtly influencing how you feel, how your body operates, and how your brain functions. When you reach that point in the night, say around 10 p.m., and you're still awake, your brain has already begun to signal that it's time to slow down. This signal comes in the form of melatonin, a hormone that plays a key role in initiating sleep. Melatonin is like a switch for your body's internal night mode. It helps to lower your body temperature, slows down your heart rate, and makes you feel sleepy, preparing your brain and body for rest. But here's the catch. Melatonin doesn't immediately knock you out. It simply nudges your body towards sleep, making it easier to doze off when you finally get into bed. But if you're still awake, something else happens. While melatonin is quietly increasing, there's also another important chemical that's been building up all day: adenosine. Adenosine, a natural byproduct of your brain's activity, plays a huge role in making you feel sleepy. Imagine it as a sort of fatigue molecule that accumulates in the brain the longer you're awake. The longer you're up, the more adenosine builds up, creating a sense of drowsiness and the gradual onset of fatigue. By 10 p.m. after a full day of activity, this sleepiness molecule is at a fairly high level, but as much as your body is telling you that it's time to sleep, your brain has been programmed to resist. In the evolutionary sense, staying alert in the dark could have been crucial for survival. So, your brain's chemistry doesn't just wind down automatically. Instead, it tries to maintain some level of wakefulness, especially if you're engaging in activities that demand attention, like scrolling through your phone or watching a show. Even though melatonin is rising and adenosine is building, there's a counterbalance. Your brain's desire to stay alert is still very much active. This creates an interesting dynamic. You might start to feel groggy, but you also might find it difficult to turn off your thoughts or concentrate on the tasks at hand. It's like your body is sending out conflicting signals. Your eyes may feel heavy, but your mind might still be racing. The more you stay awake, the more your body's biological clock fights against you. What's even more fascinating is how this extends beyond simple tiredness. The longer you stay awake, the more your cognitive functions start to decline. Reaction times slow, decision-making becomes more difficult, and memory suffers. This isn't just because you're tired. It's because your brain is physically being affected by the lack of rest. Neurons, those tiny electrical signals firing off in your brain, begin to misfire. Your brain's ability to consolidate memories weakens, meaning that all that information you've absorbed throughout the day isn't being properly stored. Your ability to process new information also declines. And this is why staying up late can sometimes leave you feeling mentally foggy the next day. And if you're pushing past your normal sleep time on a regular basis, like staying up late every night, these effects accumulate. Chronic sleep deprivation can cause deeper cognitive and emotional disturbances. Your body starts to rely more on cortisol, the stress hormone, to keep you alert. Over time, elevated cortisol levels can lead to feelings of anxiety, irritability, and mood swings. This is part of the reason why staying up late at night can affect your mental health, particularly if it becomes a regular pattern. But here's the paradox. Even though your body is sending clear signals that it's time to rest, you can often push through these warnings. You can drink coffee, keep your brain active, and convince yourself to stay awake longer. But what you're doing, in essence, is overriding your body's natural systems. Your brain's signals might get drowned out by artificial light, caffeine, and the distractions of modern life, but the deeper biological rhythms are still there, working quietly beneath the surface. This delicate balance between staying awake and finally allowing your body to rest is a fundamental part of what it means to be human. While we've developed the ability to fight sleep, to ignore the signs, and to push our limits, it's important to understand that, at some level, we're fighting against nature. We may win the battle for one night, but in the long run, the body's rhythms will have their say. Understanding these processes is still a work in progress. Even with all our scientific knowledge, we don't fully understand why our bodies need sleep as much as they do, or why staying up late impacts us in the way it does. But what we do know is that our bodies are intricately designed to follow rhythms that are older than human civilization itself. And no matter how much we try to override them, they continue to shape how we feel, how we think, and how we function in the world. Now that we've explored some of the processes happening in your brain and body as you push past 10 p.m., let's take a step back and consider what actually happens inside your body when you stay awake late into the night. Beyond the hormones and chemicals like melatonin and adenosine, there are more profound shifts happening in the way your body functions, from your heart rate to your metabolism, that you may not even be aware of. One of the first noticeable effects is the way your body temperature changes. Typically, as you approach bedtime, your body begins to cool down, a signal that it's preparing for rest. This decrease in core body temperature helps trigger the process of sleep. But if you're still awake at 10 p.m. or later, your body temperature may not drop as it should. Instead, it can remain elevated, keeping you in a more alert state. This is an example of your body's internal processes resisting the natural cycle, which may make it harder to feel deeply relaxed and eventually fall asleep. Your heart rate is another system that is influenced by the time of day. As night approaches, your heart rate usually begins to slow down in preparation for rest. But when you're awake later than usual, your heart rate can stay higher than normal. The body is in a state of mild stress as it fights against the sleep-wake rhythm, and this subtle increase in heart rate can be felt as restlessness or anxiety. This isn't necessarily dangerous in the short term, but when you consistently override your body's natural rhythms, The stress can accumulate over time, leading to issues like high blood pressure or heart problems. Your digestive system also operates on its own rhythm, which is influenced by your circadian cycle. Typically, at night, your metabolism slows down to allow your body to focus on repairing and rejuvenating itself rather than on digesting food. But if you're eating late into the evening, especially large or heavy meals, you're making your digestive system work at a time when it's not operating at peak efficiency. This can lead to indigestion, bloating, or discomfort, making it harder for you to fall asleep or stay asleep. In fact, research has shown that eating close to bedtime can disrupt your sleep cycles, preventing you from reaching deeper, restorative stages of sleep. Another important shift happens in your brain's processing of information. While you're awake, especially late at night, your brain stays active and continues to absorb and process information. But as the night progresses, the brain's ability to form new memories and consolidate learning begins to decrease. Normally, sleep plays a crucial role in this process. When you sleep, your brain sorts and stores the information you've learned throughout the day. But when you don't allow your brain the time to do this, when you stay awake beyond your natural bedtime, you're preventing that memory consolidation process from happening efficiently. This can affect both short-term memory and long-term learning. On a deeper level, staying up late frequently can start to affect your mood and emotional health. Sleep deprivation is linked to heightened emotional responses, making you more susceptible to irritability, stress, and even depression. The lack of sleep messes with the balance of neurotransmitters in your brain, chemicals like serotonin and dopamine that regulate your mood. Without enough sleep, these chemicals don't function as well, leaving you feeling down, less motivated, and more easily frustrated. This is why, after a long night of poor sleep, you may find yourself snapping at people or feeling unusually anxious. But perhaps one of the most intriguing effects of staying up late, especially on a regular basis, is the long-term impact on your immune system. During sleep, your body undergoes essential repair and recovery processes. Your immune system strengthens, tissues repair themselves, and cells regenerate. When you disrupt this natural process by staying awake late, you prevent your body from completing these vital tasks. This means that, over time, your immune system becomes weaker and less able to fight off infections. In the short term, you might not notice the impact, but in the long term, chronic sleep deprivation has been linked to a higher susceptibility to colds, flu, and other infections. What's even more fascinating is that we don't fully understand why these changes occur the way they do. While we know that the body has its own internal mechanisms that regulate everything from heart rate to digestion, the deeper mysteries of why staying up late leads to these changes are still not completely understood. We know that light and darkness signal your body's internal clocks, but how the brain decides to interpret and respond to those signals is a puzzle that we're still piecing together. How exactly do your neurons know it's time to switch from wakefulness to sleep? And why does disrupting this rhythm lead to such a cascade of effects in the body? The answers are complex, but one thing is clear. When you stay awake late, it's not just your mind that is affected. It's your whole body working overtime to adjust. What makes it even more complicated is that everyone's body reacts a little differently. Some people can stay up late without much of a problem, while others feel like they're falling apart after just one late night. There are many factors at play: genetics, lifestyle, and even how your body has adapted to different time zones or routines over your life. But no matter how well you manage to stay awake, the reality is that staying up later than your body is accustomed to is pushing against the grain of nature's design. It's a small rebellion against your own biology, and while you might win that battle for one night, over time, it takes a toll. In the end, staying awake at 10 p.m. or later isn't just about resisting sleep. It's about resisting the rhythms that are deeply embedded within us. The more we resist those rhythms, the more we disrupt the fine-tuned systems that keep us functioning at our best. The question isn't whether you can stay awake, but what happens when you do. And as we continue to learn more about the intricacies of our bodies and minds, we'll likely find that these small shifts in behavior, like staying up late, are part of a much bigger picture, one we're only beginning to understand. When we talk about the effects of staying awake past 10 p.m., there's a curious paradox at play. We can measure the changes happening in our bodies, but we don't yet fully understand why these changes unfold the way they do. This is a bit like watching a clock tick without knowing exactly how the gears inside are turning. We know that staying up late affects your brain, your hormones, your heart rate, and your metabolism, but there's still so much mystery around the why. Why is it that some people can stay up late without much trouble, while others feel the effects almost immediately? Why does staying up late have such profound effects, even when it seems like something so simple? And perhaps most importantly, why is sleep such an essential part of our biology that defying it can cause such a ripple effect throughout the body? The question of sleep, and more broadly the question of time itself, is still a deep enigma in science. Even with all our advancements in neuroscience, biology, and medicine, we still don't have a perfect explanation for why humans sleep, why we need sleep in the way that we do, or why our bodies are so precisely tuned to follow the circadian rhythm. Sure, we know the mechanics, like how the SCN, suprachiasmatic nucleus, in the brain controls the release of melatonin, and how adenosine builds up the longer we stay awake. But what is it about sleep that is so critical to our health and survival? Why do our bodies seem to demand it with such force? This gap in understanding is part of what makes sleep science so fascinating. We can measure the physiological responses to sleep deprivation, like slower reflexes, impaired memory, mood swings, and even physical illness, but the deeper mystery of why this happens still eludes us. If you stay up late one night, you'll experience some of these effects, like grogginess or difficulty concentrating, but you might bounce back the next day. However, if you make a habit of staying up late, these effects compound over time. The disruption of your circadian rhythm doesn't just affect your energy levels. It influences your cognitive performance, emotional well-being, and even your long-term physical health. Over time, this can lead to chronic conditions like hypertension, obesity, and diabetes. We also don't fully understand why sleep deprivation leads to some of these long-term consequences. Is it because our cells are simply not getting the time they need to repair and regenerate? Or is there something more complex at play in how the brain consolidates memories, processes emotions, and manages stress? The mechanisms are there, biological rhythms that evolve to match the cycle of the sun, chemicals like melatonin and cortisol, and systems in the body that shift according to the time of day. But why do these systems demand sleep in such an absolute way? Why is it so difficult to function well without it? There's a reason why sleep has been such a crucial part of human existence for millennia. The fact that we require sleep, along with other living beings, suggests that sleep must serve an essential purpose in the grand scheme of biology. Yet despite all the research, we don't yet know the full extent of what that purpose is. The effects of staying up late, then, are not just about feeling tired or sacrificing a few hours of productivity. They may be a hint that we are part of something much bigger, a cycle of life that is intricately tied to the rhythms of nature. And here's something to consider. Sleep is not just an absence of activity, but an active process that we still don't fully understand. While you sleep, your body is busy restoring itself. Cells regenerate, memories are processed, and waste is cleared from the brain. It's like the body takes this time to reset itself, recharging not just your muscles or energy stores, but also your mind and emotions. When we stay awake too long, we deprive ourselves of this process, and over time we end up shortchanging our biological systems. This, in a way, is a reflection of how humans interact with nature itself. Just as we can resist sleep, we can resist the natural world in many other ways, through artificial lighting, technology, and even our modern lifestyles that push us to operate outside the rhythms of nature. But no matter how advanced we become, the fundamental laws of biology are still there, quietly influencing our bodies and minds. Sleep is a reminder that, despite our ability to manipulate and control our environment, we are still bound by the ancient forces of nature. The science of sleep is still evolving, and with each new discovery, we get closer to understanding why this mysterious, seemingly simple process is so vital. In the end, the effects of staying up late go far beyond the discomfort of a missed night's sleep. They point to a deeper, more profound truth about how we exist in the world. We are part of a vast, intricate system of natural rhythms, and when we push against these rhythms, whether it's through late nights or other forms of disruption, we begin to feel the consequences. Sleep is not just about rest, it's about alignment with the flow of time itself. And as we continue to explore the mysteries of sleep, we might find that it offers us not only insight into how we function biologically, but also a window into the very nature of time and existence itself. As we begin to close in on the broader implications of sleep and staying awake past 10 p.m., it becomes clear that there's much more at play than simply feeling tired or groggy. Sleep, and the act of resisting it, may seem like a minor disruption in the grand scheme of things, but in reality, it reveals something profound about our relationship with the world, the universe, and even time itself. The struggle between wakefulness and sleep is not just a biological phenomenon. It touches on something much deeper. Sleep, as essential as it is a process we still don't fully understand. And while science has uncovered many pieces of the puzzle, like the role of adenosine in making us feel sleepy, or the way melatonin regulates our circadian rhythm, we don't yet know why sleep is so fundamental to our existence. Sleep is more than a biological necessity. It is also a time of deep internal transformation. Your body and brain are not merely resting during sleep, they are actively repairing, consolidating memories, and even clearing out waste products from the brain. This process is so important that without it, our cognitive function, mood, and even physical health begin to deteriorate. This mystery of sleep raises an important question. Why is it so vital that our bodies must shut down at regular intervals? It seems strange, almost counterintuitive, that a process so fundamental to human well-being is something that, until recently, we've only begun to understand. For centuries, sleep was simply taken for granted, a nightly return to rest, an unexamined part of life. It wasn't until the modern era that we started to probe deeper into its significance. Yet, even with the technology and research available today, sleep remains one of the most elusive processes in science. In a way, our resistance to sleep is a kind of defiance against the flow of time itself. Time is something that governs all aspects of life. It dictates the rhythm of the earth, the rise and fall of the sun, the seasons and the cycles of birth, growth, and decay. Sleep is inextricably tied to the passage of time, and when we stay awake late into the night, we push against that natural order. This resistance in itself can be seen as a small rebellion against nature. But as we've seen, our bodies are not designed to fight this rhythm indefinitely. Time, in the form of our internal biological clocks, eventually reasserts itself, forcing us into the cycle of rest and renewal. Perhaps what's most fascinating is that sleep isn't just about rest. It's about the very nature of existence. When we sleep, we enter a state where the boundaries of time become fluid. The world around us fades away, and our sense of time becomes distorted. Hours can pass in what feels like minutes, and we wake up with a fresh perspective, ready to face a new day. In a sense, sleep is a gateway into a different kind of experience, one where we are free from the constraints of waking consciousness and the passage of time as we usually perceive it. The very act of sleeping is like stepping into another dimension of reality, one that we only dimly understand but rely on to function in the waking world. This makes sleep more than just a biological necessity. It makes it a doorway to a deeper understanding of our place in the universe. By studying sleep, we are not just learning about how our bodies work. We are also learning about time, consciousness, and the very fabric of reality itself. And in this sense, the act of staying awake past 10 p.m. is more than just a choice to resist sleep. It's a subtle defiance of the natural cycles that govern life, a moment where we challenge the deeper timeless forces that shape our existence. In the end, the mystery of sleep is ultimately a reflection of the mysteries of life. Sleep is a reminder that, no matter how much we try to control or manipulate the world around us, we are still bound by the natural rhythms of existence. These rhythms may be difficult to understand fully, but they are an inescapable part of what makes us who we are. Time, with all its complexities, continues to flow around us, and the act of sleep is a return to the natural order, an act of surrender to something greater than ourselves. So the next time you find yourself still awake at 10 p.m., think about what it means not just for your body, but for your place in the grand, unchanging flow of time. Sleep may be more than a need. It may be a subtle, quiet reminder that we are part of something much bigger than ourselves. As we reach the final stretch in understanding what happens to your body when you stay awake past 10 p.m., it's important to step back and appreciate the deeper implications of what we've explored. Sleep is more than a mere biological process. It's a fundamental aspect of human existence, tied to something much larger than ourselves. It's a natural rhythm, shaped by time and the forces of the universe, and when we resist it, we begin to uncover something profound about our place in the world. The most significant realization is that our experience of time isn't just something external to us. Time is something we embody. It moves through us in the form of biological rhythms, of which sleep is one of the most essential. We often think of time as a passive element, something that happens to us. But in reality, we are intricately connected to it, and our bodies are designed to align with the natural cycles of day and night. Sleep, as we've seen, isn't just about rest. It's a crucial process that allows us to reset, repair, and recalibrate. It is during sleep that our bodies and brains perform essential functions, from memory consolidation to cell repair. It is a time of profound restoration, not just for our physical selves, but for our mental and emotional states as well. When we push against these rhythms by staying awake too late, we aren't just disrupting a biological process. We are, in a sense, resisting our natural alignment with the world. And that resistance is not without consequence. The more we stay up, the more we disrupt the delicate balance that our bodies depend on. The temporary discomfort we feel, whether it's brain fog, irritability, or a sluggish feeling the next day, is just a small glimpse of the larger effects that chronic sleep deprivation can have. Over time, this misalignment can lead to serious health consequences: a weakened immune system, increased stress hormones, and even cognitive decline. But beyond the immediate physical effects, there's something more profound happening. Sleep is a bridge between two worlds, the conscious and the unconscious, the waking and the dreaming. In a sense, it's a doorway into a different dimension of time, one where our perception of reality begins to shift. When we sleep, our sense of time becomes distorted. Hours can feel like minutes, and the events of the day dissolve into the unconscious mind. The world outside ceases to exist in the same way, and we enter a state where the boundaries between the internal and external blur. This strange fluid experience of time is what makes sleep not just a need but an essential part of our existence as humans. It's through sleep that we connect with a deeper part of ourselves, one that exists outside of the constraints of time as we know it. By resisting sleep, we are not just resisting a biological function. We are resisting this deeper connection with time itself. In a way, the act of staying up late becomes a form of rebellion, not just against the body, but against the flow of time that connects all life. It's a subtle defiance of the natural order, an attempt to control a force that is ultimately beyond us. But, as we've seen, no matter how much we try to manipulate or extend our waking hours, time has a way of reasserting itself. Our bodies will always try to realign with the rhythms of nature, and eventually the need for sleep will catch up with us. In that sense, sleep isn't just a physical necessity. It's a reminder of our interconnectedness with the universe. Time doesn't just pass us by. It moves through us. We are creatures of time, bound by its rhythm, and when we resist that rhythm, we are, in a way, resisting our own existence. Sleep is our return to that natural flow, a humble acknowledgement that we are not independent of the world around us, but a part of it. And when we finally surrender to sleep, we are embracing that connection, allowing ourselves to become part of the greater, ongoing flow of time. So, the next time you find yourself staying up later than you know you should, consider this. It's not just your body asking for rest, but time itself gently calling you to realign with the natural world. Sleep, in its mysterious and essential way, is a reminder that we are not separate from the forces that govern the universe. We are part of them, and the more we accept that, the more we understand our true place in the world. Time, like sleep, is not something we control, it's something we move with, and through that movement we are reminded of the deeper truths about our existence.